you simply reach over, grasp their arm, and rotate so that it raises above their body. Again, they will notice, and perhaps pause. Now, you may speak to them, but most of the time, allow this properly placed in the gutter. So, down you go. Oh. And at that point, you may walk away. Very good. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yes, sir.
Very nice of you. Very nice of you. All right, indeed. So, which young lady would care to try this technique?
This is familiar. How are you doing?
Hi, how are you, sir?
Yes. Go ahead and break his grip. Now you are going to step underneath him. Once here, you are going to bend his arm. Very nice. And then assist him to the ground. Very, very good. I don't believe that Mr. Brown has had enough punishment. Young lady, would you care to join and show us as well? How are you, Mr. Brown?
Is it safe to come up, sir?
I believe so. I don't think they've left yet, but I think I'm here to protect you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. You know, very, very good. Thank you, sir. Oh, I think we have...
Sir, it's getting late, and I must call it an evening.
Oh, indeed. Such a shame. I was just going to pick Mr. White. But it is what it is. Thank you very much for your attendance, young ladies.
Thank you for your kindness and the tricks that you've taught us.
I hope that they serve you well in the future.
I've got a feeling they're going to.
Indeed, indeed. So, please, let me escort you out of the dojo here. Gentlemen, continue your training, sirs. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. This way, young lady. Some nice signs you have there.
Are we ready for the march? March on! Let us vote! Let us vote! Let women 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 vote! What? You again?
What do we have here?
Do you have nothing better to do than harass women on the streets? The thugs you allowed to attack us yesterday injured my leg.
Why, I don't have anything better to do, because it's my job to harass women on the streets. You're breaking the civil order of things. And quite frankly, that injury, you're faking it.
Ow! 1,
Now you're not.
3. Good day, sir.
My hat.
Gents?
Haven't we serviced enough?
I would say so, sir.
You know, I wanted to mention that I have opened a school recently.
Before, sir.
Glad you asked. All right, very good. Let's put this over here. So, hopefully you enjoyed the skit. So, just for a brief introduction, we're Defense Demos. Most of us actually are, related with the same martial arts school. We're locals. And we've done this for a couple of years now. We started last year here at DragonCon. So we try and change it up every once in a while for you guys. So I'll go ahead and just do some introductions. My name is George Bartitsu, and I have been your Barton Wright substitute for today. And over here.
My name is Michael McKenzie, and I've been studying with these fellows for about 3 or 4 years now.
Oh, Lisa Shelton.
I'm Stephen Reagan, and George has been beating the crap out of me since the late 90s.
Indeed. He suffers quite nicely.
I'm Joel Dunham, and I've been taking falls from George for several years now.
Mike Sharon, same, about 7 years.
Yes, indeed.
It never gets old.
Not for me, sir. Not at all.
I'm Jessica Parker. I'm actually not a martial artist. I'm married to the copper over here.
Fish and chips.
I do help out the group in many regards. I wear many hats. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/defense demos. And if you want the information, I have flyers.
I'm Joanna Bales. I've been studying under George for probably 4-ish years, beating him up for a couple, and currently training in Mississippi until I come back.
Yes, but you're coming back to us, are you not, Doctor?
I am.
Very nice. Very nice.
I'm Olivia Lodis. I've been studying the art with them for about 3.5 years.
Yes, yes.
I'm Cassie Boggs. I don't do martial arts. I do costumes.
And indeed, she's been actually, quite helpful with, our costuming for this track. Yes. And of
Joe
course,
Parker. I actually volunteer here at DragonCon and a couple other conventions, and I've been studying Hapkido for 4 years now. No, 5 years now. I don't even remember anymore. I got too many hits in the head today, so I'm a little confused. Yes, so there you go. She's going to keep me straight, and she's going to cook the fish and chips.
yes. And finally, most importantly, we have our track director here, Dr. Paul Gay. Dr. Gay, if you can help us out. Sorry. I will give you the podium, sir. Yeah.
We've actually been throwing each other for 22 years.
Yes, indeed. Seems like yesterday.
We started this in the backyard, just for fun. In our art, it uses the cane, but it's fun to go and see what other cultures, other places have done with it, sort of to steal things. We're horrible thieves. Cane really hit, this comes from a real person. Edward Barton Wright was a real person. Opened school in England about 1900. 1900 is sort of the high point for cane. Go too many years before that, you just whip out a real sword. Too many years after that, people don't carry a cane. So you need an urban setting for a cane. If you're wandering around in the sticks, you need a staff. It's more biomechanically useful. A cane only works if you know how far the road is from your feet. So it was really a gentleman's weapon in the city. Barton Wright traveled all over. He collected techniques from Switzerland, Austria, Japan. Pierre Vigny taught cane. It has a French name. He's actually a Swiss guy, was. But it's not much like French la cane. That's all arm. Vigny used a lot of wrist. You see a lot of it in Barton Wright. His other student that wrote a book went to India and taught the police in India using the cane. And it's, again, a lot of wrist. That's the main thing.
Anything about Jack
we stole some from other people. The world was much larger then. If you think of Wales, how large a country that was, there were 3 distinct styles of wrestling, unrelated to each other. So each family, if you're going through Scotland and Ireland, may have had a martial art of its own. These are a few of the styles that survive. The only reason Barton Wright really survives is it's mentioned in Sherlock Holmes. It's spelled poorly. Watson was not really the sharpest tool in the shed. He spells it Bartitsu. It's Bartitsu. And Sherlock Holmes became popular because he hit the market a year before Jack the Ripper. So murder mysteries got really exciting, really popular after that. We were going to mention a little bit about how fun to do this, how fun this is to do it yourself. Don't do exactly what we did up here, or your medical bills are not, you're not liable for those. These people, if they've been practicing a lot of years to do this, all the stunt people that were taking throws, for the most part, have been taking throws on 3 times a week for years. But I enjoyed the cane part just for let's beat people up with a long stick because it's fun. George came up with well, we can add period costumes to it, and there's something called steampunk, which I didn't know anything about until he explained it to me. And we'll phone up DragonCon and say, oh, would you like to have this? Oh, sure we would. And that's how it started last year. And we've had a lot of fun doing it. You have to build everything to fit this. The costumes, if you have a costume,
They don't work.
if your costume holds up for walking, it may not hold up for being thrown on the ground several times or throwing people on the ground, so you have to take that into account.
Yep.
But if you have any questions for people who, for me, or any of the actors, stunt people, or costume person.
And if you would care for any more technique, I am sure I could be convinced to demonstrate some more. But only if you ask quite nicely. But indeed, yes.
So I'm quite lucky in that I'm in a city that actually has a Bartitsu class. I haven't taken it yet, but it exists. But for those who don't necessarily have that, you had mentioned that it is largely based on Japanese jiu-jitsu and certain cane forms. What are some example cane forms that other people could look at if they wanted to start putting together the style themselves through those combinations?
He wrote a book, and Vigny's other student was Lang, and he wrote a manual for the Indian police. Both of those you can find online, copyright once it's dead.
Yeah, you can download it. It's very easy to do.
I really love the American Andrew Chase Cunningham. He worked for the Navy. He was a naval officer, and he has a cane system that comes out about 1906. His book is published. In 1903, he publishes a bayonet manual for the Navy and a saber manual for the Navy. So you were still thinking pirates, real, ARG, gold, we want your stuff pirates. We're boarding naval ships around the turn of the century, and an officer had a saber and was going to be killing people with it, not just carrying it around to show that he outranked everybody.
But in other ways that you can do it, obviously doing mashups doesn't generate the traditional style. But does it get you close? Sure. Really, a lot of it is old hat. So you can actually look into fencing techniques. Like we mentioned, Hapkido, which is a Korean art, has cane. Now they brewed their cane on their own in their own spot, so it's not going to be exactly the same. And we did try and do some research to avoid that looking like Hapkido cane. It looks a little different.
There's some differences in it. A lot of it depends on what kind of cane you have, how heavy it is. A lot of people want to think it's straight up saber. It can't be. Because with a saber, hanging saber, if he grabs my saber, I just cut his fingers off. With my cane, it's too dull. It doesn't work. So hanging saber now comes back here. And he chases me, and my spin adds momentum, and I break stuff. But you have to think, if it's a top like that, that's a heavier top. He's storing momentum in it and breaking things. I love the hook here when it has a little bit of protection. It gives me a little bit of biomechanical advantage. And it's a wonderful thing here. This cross seven turn throw will break his neck halfway through the throw. If you have some, I didn't bring it because it's about 150 years old, but I have a leather washer cane that has a smaller bulb on one end, but it comes down to about a pencil. It's on a steel, springy steel, and it's used like a whip. It's used to cut. It's too flexible even to use to hold you up. It is purely a gentleman's weapon. Beat people up.
Question, white and black?
Just out of curiosity, those of you who aren't trained martial artists, how long did you practice for this?
Every Sunday for the past 7 weeks. That man does all of it. I just stand there and he throws himself around me. I don't know how to do any of this.
It's a bit akin to dancing in that she's basically providing the lead, and then I'm following from that lead.
There's many of these techniques where it's not actually a throw. If we did not flip, our arm would break.
Right.
It's in our best interest to flip, or something terrible is going to happen. So know that.
Yeah. But it does help to actually have trained personnel. And to be honest, yeah, these guys are awesome for being willing to be dropped on stage like this or on the floor. Because usually you have training mats, and we do appreciate them when we have them.
This sucks.
But to finish out your earlier question, realize jiu-jitsu now has a very exact meaning. At the turn of the century in Japan, I'm a southerner, you have Pepsi flavored Coke, you have Mountain Dew flavored Coke, you have Sprite flavored Coke. They're all just Cokes, just different flavors. Jiu-jitsu was like that in Japan, turn of the century. You had Aiki Jiu-jitsu, which is a very soft, flowing, flowery style. You had skin around and break things, you had wrestling. You had styles that were predominantly hard styles, and they were all called Jiu-jitsu. It was sort of a generic term.
Question there?
Yeah, it looked like all of the things you were practicing were self-defense. Were there any techniques that were, like, if the gentleman was the lady, he could take the hands off the thug who was attacking his lady?
Oh yeah, you can be as offensive with a cane. I mean, I have tremendous reach. The store momentum in it, I love it.
Yeah,
fun things. My favorite really is leverage.
Example you'd like to demonstrate?
Yeah.
Not on people, because they'll die.
Not what he's about to do. Yeah. But in fact, I'll step off.
Leverage. This is really at its heart. Think of the things that a weapon can do. Take away like nuclear blasters and stuff. You can concentrate force. I can't punch with a 1 square inch punch. I can't get. If I get my appendage down to that small of a surface area, it's very fragile. Here I can do it. Here I get a lot of reach, a lot of speed, and a lot of momentum. But if I put a fulcrum on my lever, you speed it up a lot and add a lot of force. If it hits something, you just break it.
Yes. Yes, indeed. But last year we did a little bit more offensive because we were arguing about the merits of cane. And this year we kind of went for defensive because of the suffragettes that we were adding into the show. Who knows? About next year maybe we'll be doing a mix.
For writing it for fun, if you want us, this is why it's in England. Cane was a little more popular in England than the U.S. 1900 is about when Barton Wright opened his school, and the suffragettes in England started a little earlier than they did in the U.S. So it gives you a strong female lead. And suffragettes legitimately had studied jiu-jitsu because the cops did harass them, people harassed them. One of the suffragettes actually was a very famous, she actually came over from Canada to England to be part of the suffragette movement, and she was a relatively famous jiu-jitsu player.
Questions? One?
There's one. Yeah. Oh, lots of questions. Yes.
I have heard that one of the things that Barton Wright did was he developed the martial art specifically for the non-athlete. Is that correct?
He says that, but that's sales.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Being a non-athlete, I can't actually do this. Like,
If you-
I could theoretically learn, and I have taken jiu-jitsu years before, but I just don't have the upper body strength to do a lot of the really complex moves. The basic ones, totally. Basic self-defense I can do. But when it comes to like actually tossing somebody across the room, you have to have some strength to do that. And granted, men at baseline have more strength than me. Just your genetics give that to you.
Like you see a Korean technique, I'll hook his neck and I'll throw the side kick to his head and snatch to break his neck. If you're needing a cane to walk around, you ain't doing that. You gotta be physically fit to make that happen.
If you're asking about like throws and you're smaller, we have changes to like positional throws. Instead of having the person stand and throw them, we'll, when I throw, for example, Mr. White, a lot of times I'll actually kneel.
Ms. Lanish, why don't you show us one?
We'll pull out the mat for this. No need to this side. Okay.
So versus if someone taller or bigger is doing it, they won't kneel. They'll just throw them this way. So.
He does get some retribution, right? He got beaten up the most.
Two arm? Two arm.
I have to do two arm.
And